Okay, let's take a look at what's happening in America, shall we? So no, by the look of things, this is not a conspiracy theory, and this is not a direct threat on Australians. This is just about anyone who's going into America, and they will have their social media content analysed and looked at over the last 5 years, rightly so. Trump's America is about America's first. It's about protecting his people, unlike Australia. Maybe we can take a couple of leaflets out of America right now, because none of us want to end up like the United Kingdom or Europe, now do we? Now lots of these people come from these countries, coming to Australia, wanting to live the same way that we're living. However, our own country is starting to deteriorate, and it's because we have useless governments in politics. And with my podcast that will be going ahead tomorrow night, I will explain to you how these people are elected. I'm now starting to believe they're all selected. Thirdly, we have a lot of interference in our Australian politics, and it has been happening in the United States. It's crazy times, and it's time to tighten the belt when it comes to security. And America is doing everything it needs to do to ensure that their people are safe. So no, I have no issues with that. What I do have an issue with is Australia is basically saying one thing to America and saying another by your actions and supporting China. Like I said a couple of days ago in one of my posts, what are the coincidences of Chinese men in the small community of Colombo? Now by boat, it's about 6 hours from there to Darwin by boat. And it just so happens that the same time that they found the 6 Chinese men, the Chinese Navy boat was in the vicinity. But our government knows this. They just don't want to do anything about it. So I think the whole prepping of our digital ID is on purpose, because it's going to be a takeover by China at some point. I don't know why we would allow American blood to be spilt in this country on our land when we have governments that backstab them. That's why we have a very left-leaning government as well as media outlets. They are trying to drum it into our heads for a very long time that Trump is a problem. He is not a problem. He never has been. I think the actions speak louder than words. He has done more for his country than any other sitting president. And those are facts. So at the end of the day, do these bans affect Australians if we're going over to America? Probably. But then you also have to question, what are you putting on social media that you hate America so much? That's like me saying, well, you can come into my house even though I've seen you slander me all over social media, and I still allow you in the front door of my private home. That's what it is. So no, I don't have a problem with it. Remember where you're getting your information from. Some people like to think they're far right or right-wing media, but they're very quick too to put the knife in the back.
6 Chinese nationals have been detained after being found near a remote community in Western Australia. An off-duty officer spotted 2 men north of Colombo on the Kimberley coast, leading to a search that found 4 more men. Locals raised the alarm, noticing the group's unusual clothing in the humid weather. Authorities believe that they arrived illegally by boat, and the matter is now with the Australian Border Force.
We maintain constant maritime domain awareness in our geographic areas of interest. That's Southeast Asia, Northeast Asia, the Northeast Indian Ocean and the Pacific. And in that context, we will routinely monitor the movements of PLAN vessels.
Reports show the firepower in a new Chinese task group being monitored off Papua New Guinea is a near match to the entire Royal Australian Navy. The flotilla includes a Type 055D cruiser carrying 112 missile launch cells and a Type 054A frigate holding an additional 32. They are supported by a replenishment vessel, allowing the group to refuel without docking. Australia owns 2 ships of this type, but both have been sidelined by mechanical failures. The main combatant is a Type 075 amphibious assault ship. While it belongs to the same class as HMAS Canberra and HMAS Adelaide, it carries as many helicopters tanks, and troops as both Australian flagships combined. In contrast, less than half the total Australian fleet is operational. Defence Minister Richard Marles and Defence Chief Admiral David Johnston confirmed Australia was monitoring the People's Liberation Army Navy ships off the coast of Palau, announcing it already has RAAF P-8A Poseidon surveillance aircraft on the job in an effort to preempt public fears.
I want to confirm today that Defence is monitoring a Chinese PLA-N task group.
Experts have described the move as a form of military coercion, saying Beijing is seeking to drive a wedge into Canberra's commitment to securing territorial waters for allies such as Japan and the Philippines. Lawyer and analyst Oliver Sinclair believes they succeeded in a similar task last year. This hysteria was not an unpleasant byproduct of the mission, but a calculated move designed to exploit Australia's sense of security. ANU National Security College analyst Jennifer Parker said in a post on X, "It's still not common for China to deploy Type 075 task groups beyond the first island chain. They did so in 2023, but I wouldn't say amphibious TG deployments into the Western Pacific are routine at all." The Chinese warships operated within Australia's exclusive economic zone at the same distances RAN warships travelled in the South China Sea. Experts say the move is a strategic act of lawfare, designed to force a reflection on Australia's decision to conduct freedom of navigation operations. While China insists it owns the entire South China Sea, despite international rulings, the Albanese government accepts that international law allows China to send combat fleets around territorial waters.